Ross is Senior Director of Products at BoldChat by LogMeIn. We're so pleased to have Ross with us to deliver some brief opening remarks. So welcome, Ross. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And once again, just to reiterate, thanks everyone for giving us some time today. I know, especially this time of year, it's hard to come by, so I appreciate you spending some time with us. Today, what we're going to discuss, and I'm going to make some introductory remarks and share some research and some thoughts around being proactive, proactively engaging the omni-channel customer. You know, there's lots of ways to be proactive, and the one that I'm really going to cover is sort of being proactive with customers through digital engagement channels. But that's not the only way to be proactive, and some of our speakers today during our panel discussion will talk about some other ways in product, proactivity, and so forth and so on. So as I said, I'll talk a little bit about engaging consumers through digital channels like social and email and live chat, and how you can handle these channels proactively. So a bit of an agenda for my portion, and just so you know, my portion of the presentation takes about 15 minutes. Share some research and thoughts with you, and then we'll jump right into the panel discussion. We have some really great panelists joining us today. So first I'll define what is proactive engagement. What do we mean when we say that term? And how can you be proactive across channels? I'll talk about 3 channels in particular and give you some best practices and tips there. And then we'll get into the panel discussion. So what is proactive engagement? Well, we define it because I think that if you're going to ask people today, what does it mean to be proactive? You get a wide variety of answers. To us, though, it's really pretty simple. It's the art and science of being right where your customer needs you, when they need you, and how they need you. And I think about those 3, where, when, and how, almost as levers. You can pull those levers independently, you can pull them in some combination, but getting the levers just right, it depends on the channel, it depends on potentially time of year. There's a lot of factors that go into being in the right place at the right time, and how your customer wants you to be. And that's why I think of it as both an art and a science. There's kind of constant measuring that needs to happen, and so forth and so on. You know, proactive engagement has some myths associated with it. It often gets a bad rap. People think of it almost like a used car salesman, right? Oh, someone rushes up to you, and they're really aggressive or intrusive. They're relentless, potentially even annoying. People think of proactive engagement that way. It doesn't have to be that way. Certainly, I think that it can be. That's the unfortunate thing. You know, I like to tell a story. I went to buy a ring. I think it might be the most expensive thing I've ever purchased besides a house or a car. My wife was graduating with her PhD, so she'd been working for almost a decade on this degree. I thought it was worthy of a really nice gift, so I went to Tiffany's, which is, by the way, just an amazing experience if you go there. And yes, people came right up to me and asked if they could help me. Were they annoying? Were they intrusive? No. They were not. In fact, they were very helpful. I don't know a lot about diamonds and titanium and sapphires and so forth and so on. They do. They know a lot about them. They know why theirs cost a lot more money than others. And so they were very proactive. They were very proactive before the sale, during the sale, and even after. Lots of follow-up. Did I find any of that intrusive, annoying? No, I did not. I found it extremely helpful. And by the way, that was a decade ago, and I still tell that story. So it obviously made an impression. So I think you can do it right. It is true. Some people do it wrong. There are some mistakes associated with proactive engagement. And some of the more common ones I've listed here. So you can be too fast or too slow. That's the sort of timing lever. Too frequent. Not being aware of customers' mobility. So engaging a customer who is using a mobile device or is on the go can be quite different than someone who is not. Forgetting that things change. Again, this is the sort of art and science idea. You have to constantly be measuring. You can't set it and forget it. You have to be always looking at it. Related, not treating proactive like a discipline. It really is something that needs to be paid attention to on an ongoing basis. So let's talk a little bit about being proactive in a couple different channels. So let's talk about being proactive in email first. You say email. How can you possibly be proactive through email? Well, I find that the lever you want to pull here is primarily a time-based lever. When customers actually have a pretty low expectation around responsiveness to email. So if you'd like to be proactive, beat that expectation and respond faster. So here's a study that was done last year, simply asking consumers how quickly should businesses respond to emails that they send them. And your first impression might be, oh, look, almost half of them, 43.4%, say a day. So we'll just set our email responsiveness to 24 hours, which, by the way, a lot of companies do. But what this means is that there is about another half who is not satisfied with that answer. There's 13% that say 4 hours, 16.5% that say within an hour, and almost 15% that say within 15 minutes. So I think a good rule here is sort of 80-20. And if you want to satisfy 80% of the people who email you, then answer within an hour or less. And so this is a good way to be proactive through a channel that in many ways people would think you can't really be proactive, but you can. It's simply by speed of response. The other thing that you can do, this is actual research that LogMeIn did, just around different channel usage and so forth, and we asked close to 2,000 consumers. We presented them 17 different scenarios, and you can see them listed here. They're, filing a complaint about bad service or seeking technical support for my mobile phone. Just a whole wide variety of reasons that a consumer might contact you. And we said, which channel, and we gave them a choice of channels, helps you best accomplish this task, and where best is sort of the most efficient, you get the problem solved in the most efficient way. And interestingly, the top three choices for every single one was phone first, then email, then live chat, except for three of them. For three of them, email was the number one choice. And those three were, you're probably thinking, what are the three? What are the three? Well, they're right here. Checking on an order already placed, seeking technical support for a tablet, and seeking technical support for home electronics. So maybe some surprises there, I'm not sure. The point of this, though, is that another way to be proactive, a lot of what people talk about today is not necessarily providing choice of channel to the consumer, but providing the right channel that will help them solve the problem. So here's some insight into the fact, and your business may be different, and you may have different scenarios for which email is really effective, but knowing the scenarios for which, look, email is going to be the best channel is great, because if you know that, you can present that channel to the person as the preferred channel and kind of wow that consumer, solve their problem through email, do it quickly. So I think that, to sort of summarize, look, if you want to be proactive in email, answer quickly, do it in an hour or less, and focus on the problems where email is really good at solving it. And as I said, that may be different for your business, but I shared three potentials that we found from our research. Let's talk about being proactive in a different channel. Let's talk about the live chat channel. So first of all, why should you? Why should you think about using live chat on a website and being proactive? And what being proactive in live chat means is actually inviting someone with like a visual sort of pop-up into a chat conversation. Why should you do that? Well, the statistics don't lie. So here's some benchmarking research also from us. About 6.6% of website visitors will accept that invitation. If they are on a mobile device and you invite them on a mobile device, it's actually higher, which is a little counterintuitive, but it's 7.3%. We have a set of customers, and it's not just a handful, it's quite a few, that really, really work hard at optimizing their proactive invitation strategy. And they achieve acceptance rates between 12 and 34%. So you can get really good at this. And again, to my sort of, look, being proactive is a discipline and requires constant optimization and measurement. We have customers that do exactly that, and they're able to achieve some pretty amazing results. So being proactive or using proactive chat increases a site's overall engagement level by 4 times on average. Chatters are 2.8 times more likely to convert. And chatters also spend 60% more than non-chatters if you're using chat in sort of an e-commerce or buying type setting. So those are some of the reasons why being proactive can deliver really good business results. But you may be asking, okay, well, isn't it annoying? Isn't this sort of one of the places where it can have that bad used car salesman? It pops up, it's in the way. And again, I'll share some research with you. So remember, I shared with you that mobile consumers actually accept invitations more, which was a little counterintuitive because those invitations can be, there's not a lot of real estate on mobile devices. So we decided to ask those mobile consumers, what's your reaction to being proactively invited? And this is another piece of research that we did, and we used a 1 to 5 scale, where 1 is that it's annoying, 3 is neutral, and 4 and 5 are clearly positive. And so we asked those mobile consumers, what is your reaction to being invited into a chat conversation on your mobile device? And you can see that the majority of folks are either neutral or positive to it. So it's somewhat of a myth that folks are not receptive. We think that receptivity is definitely there, and of course, people can make mistakes. You can invite too frequently, or you can invite too quickly when someone lands on your website. Those things are true. You do have to be careful, but I think in general, don't be afraid of proactively inviting. It's worthy of experimentation, and I think that if you treat it like a discipline and let the numbers lead you, you'll be able to see, oh, this makes my acceptance rates go up. This makes my satisfaction rates go down. Okay, well, it's a balancing act. So a couple of tips there on being on thinking about proactive. Certainly the results are there. It works, and I think that if done correctly, consumers are quite appreciative of being invited into a chat conversation. Okay, last couple of slides for me. Let's talk about being proactive with social. So this is interesting. A recent study showed that 5 out of 6 social media messages deserving of a reply are never responded to. Facebook, Twitter, and Google are the top 3 sites for marketers, and you can see the numbers don't lie. There's just billions to millions of users out there. There's lots and lots of opportunity. In order to take advantage of it, obviously, there's some things that we think you need to do. We suggest starting with Twitter. The reason is because that's the most public of the social media platforms. Literally, people can talk about your brand, have conversations about your brand, say things there in a very public way that anyone can see. Seems like that should be the place to get started if you want to be part of a conversation that may be happening anyway. We suggest handling social media in a team-based way. So that means you need to think about, a lot of companies say, oh, we have this one person who handles our social media strategies. That person will become overwhelmed pretty quickly. You need to really put it into the contact center and let agents who are good at text-based communications like emails and chat also handle things like tweets and Facebook messages and so forth. You really have to think about active listening. So there are lots of conversations going on that your brand may have something to say and contribute to. And so you have to be pretty sophisticated with the searches that you set up and so forth. It's very tempting to escalate someone out of a social media channel, and we recommend not doing that. If you can solve the person's problem in the channel, and we recommend trying very hard to do that, do it. If someone tweets at you, then solve the problem through Twitter. Solve the problem with direct messages or public Twitter messages. That's the reason they did it, right? They didn't do it because they want you to tweet them a phone number. They would have called you if they wanted to talk to you. Again, there's a responsiveness that matters. We think it's, again, within an hour is really satisfying the majority of folks. So, in conclusion there, to be proactive with social, use a team, make sure you're attending to active listening and respond as quick as you can. So what I covered was really sort of thinking about proactive engagement through digital channels. And I think we'll have some of our panelists who have some experience there as well and can add some commentary. But we also have some people being proactive in other unique ways. And so at this point, I'd like to take us into our panel discussion. I'd like to ask the panelists to introduce themselves, and I'll call out their first name so that they may do that. And then I do have a set of questions that I'll be starting with. And normally I've hosted these panels before, and what happens is someone's answer leads to another question. That's always a good thing. So it will be sort of discussion based. I do have some questions to sort of start us off down some different paths, but I find that those paths take turns, and we'll let that happen. We'll let it organically happen that way.